Even men at the top of their game find themselves wanting more from life. Whether it's more meaning, unshakable confidence, a bigger impact, more money, deeper love, a hotter sex life, or a powerful legacy. Find out how good your life can be on this episode of Man Alive. Also, did you know there's a skill many men never learn that ends up seriously limiting your professional success and satisfaction in your love and sex life? I put together a free guide to explain this unknown skill and give you exactly what you need to use it today. Get it by heading over to ShaynaJamesCoaching.com or text the word ALIVE, A-L-I-V-E, to 44144. That's 44144. You'll also get access to Man Alive outtakes, raw footage, and bonus videos you can only get there. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Man Alive. I'm excited today to have Jordan Harbinger. Jordan, welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
Jordan and I, we realized, have been connected for years over Facebook and had some random exchange years ago and weren't sure why or how it happened. But I feel really excited to have you here today, and especially because you were saying to me that you have found a kind of magic that is one of the most powerful things you've discovered, and around, networking, creating relationships, and building business in this way. And you've built some incredible businesses. So I'm really excited for you to share your wisdom.
Well, I'm excited to be here. I love teaching people these skills because they were and are life-changing for me. And I'm not a hyperbole guy. So I really mean that when I say, had I known this years ago, I would have. And I guess I did know it, but I kind of didn't believe it. Had I felt it years ago, my entire life would be different in a good way.
Wow. Awesome. All right. Well, before we dive into that, let me introduce you for those who have not heard of you, and then we'll get into it. So Jordan, once referred to as the Larry King of podcasting, is a Wall Street lawyer turned talk show host, social dynamics expert, and entrepreneur. And after hosting a top 50 iTunes podcast for over a decade that had nearly 4 million downloads a month, Jordan has embarked on a new adventure, The Jordan Harbinger Show, where he deconstructs the playbooks of the most successful people on earth and shares their strategies, perspectives, and insights with the rest of us. Jordan's business sense, extensive knowledge of the industry, and contemporary approach to teaching make him one of the best and most sought-after coaches in the world. And I saw on your podcast you had Simon Sinek, and who are some of the other, you've had some incredible people already. And this is your new podcast, yeah?
That's right. Yeah, I've had, like you said, Simon Sinek was one of my first guests. I had Bill Browder, which is totally outside of your normal wheelhouse, I guess you would say, but he's Putin's number one enemy. So he had an interesting story.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, and I've had quite a few interesting folks, from Jocko Willink all the way, who's a Navy SEAL, one of the highly decorated commanders from Ramadi, all the way to neuroscientist David Eagleman, who invented a vest that deaf people can use to hear.
Wow.
And so to hear through feeling, so to speak.
Oh,
and episodes on jealousy, professional poker players talking about how to make decisions, military generals. I'm having the former head of the CIA and NSA on the show soon. So
wow, I love the range.
It's a lot of range, but the whole goal in the end is not just let's talk about random stuff. It's what skills can you teach the Jordan Harbinger Show audience. So everybody has to have practical takeaways, and we create worksheets for each episode so that people can listen and enjoy it and then go through the worksheets and go, oh yeah, now I understand and can apply this.
Awesome. Great. Well, definitely you listening, check out Jordan's podcast. And for today, I'm excited to jump into creating relationships. And well, let's start with, this is my first inclination of a question to ask, but you may want to go backwards from here, which is, why is this the most powerful thing you've discovered, right? Why is this idea of networking and creating relationships the most powerful thing you've discovered?
Cool. So first of all, I do want to say networking is a gross word that I hate, but there's not really a better one.
Huh.
And
what do you hate about it?
Well, when people say networking, they're at least for most people, myself included, the original sort of image that goes in someone's mind is you go to some dumb event where a guy in a sweater vest is at the YMCA and they're like, everyone introduce each other. And someone walks up to you in a cheap suit and is like, hey, next time you need a financial planner, give me a call, and hands you a
It's a
business
little
card that like
creepy.
melts in your hand
Yeah.
because it's so thin.
Yeah.
And you're going, why did I come here for stale donuts and old, cold, gross coffee? And you just hate it. And it's the worst experience ever. And you go, I never want to be one of these guys or gals. They're so
Uh-huh.
icky.
Uh-huh. Well,
So
I like your sense of humor. I can get that, right? That networking in the old fashioned kind of way isn't really what you're going for here.
right. That's kind of like business card flinging or slinging. And that's just not what we're about. And
Uh-huh.
what I'm talking about when I say networking and relationship development is creating real relationships with people without an agenda, without the expectation of getting anything in return, and feeding those relationships by giving your network value over months and years. And then eventually, when and if you ever need anything, hopefully you've got so many people around you that want to help and support
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
that it's not a thought. You're not doing quid pro quo. Hey, if you have me on your show, I'll have you on mine. You're not doing
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
You're not secretly keeping score. And I'll go over a lot of these things in details. But
Well, and right, even just to say, I mean, to go back for you just said secretly keeping score and without an agenda. I mean, that's profound in itself, right? It's such a generous act to be able to give content, to support people. Yeah, maybe you're going to go into this a little later, but it's like, okay, how do people make that shift out of scarcity into, I mean, I would call it abundance, right?
sure. Yeah. And that's how you use the word properly instead of in some sort of like namaste kind of way. No offense to the
Mm-hmm.
namaste folks, but um, I would say one of the first things is most people, especially business owners, and this isn't just for business owners, it's for humans, but most people procrastinate. They'll say something like, oh, well, I don't need to do this right now because I'm not in the career that I want to be in. Or first, I need to have my website up, or I need a prototype of my product, or something like that. This is a foundational skill set. It's not an add-on. It's not a bonus. It's not a to-do list check-off item.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't realize this. And that's a huge, huge, huge problem. You're not immune to the consequences if you don't dig the well before you're thirsty. You're just being willfully ignorant of the secret game being played around you. Right.
That
So
makes sense.
that's a big problem. And I mentioned dig the well before you're thirsty. Shout out to Harvey McKay, who titled his book that. It's not my term.
Mm-hmm.
What this means is it's quite clear. Build these relationships early. Put the
Yeah.
spare tire in the trunk of your car before you get a flat.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not doing that, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because you will get a flat one day. You'll find yourself out of a job, or you'll find that your friends aren't there because you didn't nurture those relationships, or it's just
Right. You
it become a
haven't
huge
given
problem.
or taken care of people in the way that you're asking to be then given to or taken care of.
Right. And it's totally forgivable. Except the problem is, even if people forgive you, they're not going to be motivated to help you
Exactly. I
in
was
your
going to
time
say,
of
right.
need.
They'll forgive you. They just won't support you.
Yeah, it's like, no problem. I know you had a girlfriend. You didn't hang out with us for 2 years. No, I'm not really going to just pretend to make up for lost time. We all had 2 years of life experience without you, and you didn't care about us.
Yep.
Like, I
Yep.
forgive you, but no, we're not going to pretend that didn't happen. You know,
Yes.
it's, and in business, it's even worse. I mean, imagine if this is what happened, Shayna. Hey, remember that time I messaged you on Facebook in 2015 and said happy birthday or whatever it was?
Yeah.
I have a book now. Can you sell it to your email list? You'd be like, and delete.
Right.
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 Well, and instead we have something else happening here, hopefully. But like, I know you get this a lot. Hi, I heard you have a podcast. I have a mutual friend with somebody that you met once in 2005. Like, can I come on your show and sell my dog grooming ebook to your fans? And you're
Right.
like, okay, no.
Wait,
Thanks.
because clearly you haven't actually listened to my podcast if that's what you're proposing, right? It is interesting, the requests that people send, or someone today actually said, I heard you on this podcast. And I was like, I've never been on that podcast, right?
Yeah, that's so
Like,
weird. Yeah.
oh, yeah. So, okay. So how do you start creating these connections? I mean, I fully wholeheartedly agree with you. I think my life is about connections, and in the business world, you know, there's a saying that's kind of cheesy, but in some ways it makes sense around connections are currency, right? It's like connections are the foundation of business. But how did you start building these connections?
So dig the well before you're thirsty. That sort of primary concept. I want to caveat this before we begin here. So networking for its own sake is all form and no substance,
Mm.
right? If you're just going out handing out business cards, I know everybody, but I don't have anybody that actually likes me, right? That's the unsaid
Uh-huh.
part of that sentence.
Yep.
But not networking and just relying on yourself and your skills and talent means you're kind of going to be all alone in your endeavors. So when it gets down to who has your back, the list is pretty short and
Yeah.
it's all substance and no form. So it's not all about who we know, and it's also not all about what we do. It's about, and here's my Donald Rumsfeld moment, it's about what we do with who we know and who knows what we do. Does that
Okay.
make
What we
sense?
do with who we know and who knows what we do.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I
Yep.
don't want that to be like a self-help bumper sticker because I hate those, but I also realize it sounds like Donald Rumsfeld. Circa.
It says, yep.
Yeah. So the way that I suggest people start this, because I know people go, oh, I don't have time for this, or oh, I don't have time for another task. I want to give people a few exercises that literally require moments or minutes of
Great.
standing in Starbucks or whatever coffee line type of drills.
Awesome.
The first thing that I think shakes off a lot of the rust, if you will, I call this layoff lifelines because I'm so creative, but imagine that you got laid off from your job today, or your business implodes, or you go through a breakup of some kind, but you're married and you only hang out with your significant other. Make a list of the 10 or so people that you'd contact to solicit their advice on what to do next. And if it's your mom and dad and your brother and sister, just don't count those unless you haven't talked to them in a long time.
Uh-huh.
But I'm talking about, oh, I got laid off. Oh, I'd contact my mechanical engineering professor from college, and I'd contact my old boss from that other company that I loved working for, that I left for this one. Those kinds of people.
Right. All the people who actually are in your, I was going to say network again, but maybe we should avoid that word, right?
Well,
your support system,
right?
but
They're
who you haven't
weaker
actually thought of recently.
Exactly. These are weaker or dormant ties.
I like dormant. Yeah.
Yeah. They're kind of like the sleeper cell, right, of your network.
Yeah.
And
I was just imagining those little things where the sponges, where you pour water into them and then suddenly they grow, you know?
ooh, I like that. Like where it's grow a dinosaur and it's
Exactly.
in the bathtub.
I have a 6-year-old, so it's like grow a pterodactyl.
Yes. I
Yeah.
used to love those. And then you realize like, okay, is this non-toxic? And also
Right,
what does
this
it
is
do?
kinda
It's just
gross,
pop
but yes.
gross thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those were fun for a minute. How do those toys even still exist? Those are like some 70s stuff right there. Those should
You
not.
should see the dinosaur in my kitchen. It's, still, it's pretty amazing that they still exist. But all right, anyway, dormant connections, right? You're bringing them back alive.
Right. And the way that you do this is make the list and then reach out to them now when you have no agenda and you don't actually need anything specifically. So we're sort of pretending that our business, and we're not lying about it. We're like imagining, okay, oh no, I got laid off today. Oh no, my business imploded today. Oh no, I'm suffering through this crazy turmoil today. Who would you call? What would you want from them advice-wise? You're not saying, hi, I know you're rich. Can I have money? I guess you could do that, but we're really thinking about people that we would contact for the value of their relationship.
Yeah.
And what this does, the making of the list and the outreach, you can't just skip the outreach because you made the list. That's not the drill. This gets a little bit of momentum going, and it ends the cycle of procrastination. People have 100 things to do. You're comfortable with 99 of them. Oh, I got to do social media. I got to do sales funnels. I got to do this. But we're not really comfortable a lot of the time with outreach.
Yes.
So this kicks off the rust, and it also... It really makes things less awkward, I guess you would say, because people go, well, it's so awkward to reach out. No, it's awkward to reach out when you go, shoot,
I really need this.
I need this thing.
Yeah. It's amazing. Actually, I mean, I've coached hundreds of people on their businesses, and I would say the one thing I have to keep saying over and over and over again is reach out first before you're creating your content, before you're building this, right? Because that's the thing everybody puts till the end because maybe I shouldn't make that huge generalization, but literally what I've seen is almost every person I've coached, it's like, that's the part that seems to scare people the most. But what you're saying, right, is if you reach out when you're not in need, then, right, what is there to be scared of?
Yes, exactly. I agree. And I'll tell you, the reason that everyone, in air quotes, right, you and I agree on this, puts it to the end is because if I've got 25 things that I need to do, big projects, create website, create product, I don't know, create live events, do social media, create videos. I kind of know how to do that stuff as an entrepreneur.
Yep.
But when someone goes, great, reach out to tons of people inside and outside your industry, you're like, I'm going to go ahead and punt on that because I have all these other things I already know how to do that I'm more comfortable people with. But
right. And that are actually concrete. And once they're done, I know they're done, and I know the process. And so, right, I don't have to vulnerably put myself out there and ask for something, which, is one of the most terrifying things to people, even outside of the business realm.
Yeah, of course. Agree 100%. The problem here, though, Shayna, is that you can't make up for lost time.
Right.
So if you put this to the end, you can buddy up to as many people as you want, but all it does is signal, what does this guy want?
Yes.
Right? Like he had a business for years. I've seen him in this space. What does he want? Fine, I'll call him back. Oh, he seemed to be agenda free. Oh, he's calling me again next week. Oh, you have a book coming out? Okay, I knew it. Right? And so you end up, when you try to pretend like you don't have an agenda, but you have an agenda later, it's kind of impossible, right?
Is.
Because, oh, I have a book coming out in 7 months. So you're calling people now? Yeah, okay. That's better than calling them when your book is out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But still, I already know that is happening, and you're already buttering me up for it. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
And how do you, though? I mean, I'm thinking about, there are people who I've reached out to when I didn't necessarily have anything going on, but there is an intention of connecting, so that they're a part of my network, or so that there's a support, and, maybe I can offer something to them, they can offer something to me. So, that is innately part of it. I mean, are you saying that there's somehow to get around that?
Yeah, so you actually just mentioned the solution in your statement right there, which was maybe I can do something for them, or maybe there is some other fit.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I recommend, is help other people without the attachment of anything in return. So if I'm reaching out to people and they're a new connection, often I will just say, hey, so I don't really know. They'll go, how can I help you? And I'm like, I don't really know, but you're friends with Shayna, so if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. And they're like, oh, well, I know you have a podcast. What do you, I'm new to this. What should I be doing? And I might go, oh, here's my producer. He's got a bunch of recommendations for gear. He's got a bunch of recommendations for things you can listen to or read.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to, send you a couple quick tips that you probably will find counterintuitive, not a big deal. And then they're like, great, what can I do to help you? And I'm like, look, I really don't have anything in mind, but hopefully in 2 or 3 years, if I've ever got something big going on, or in 2 or 3 months, I'll let you know. There's nothing on my radar. And they go, okay, because they're not used to that, right?
Right.
But it really is helping people without the attachment of anything in return. And what this has done, this isn't just some sort of like woo-woo feeding the universe thing. The reason this works well,
somehow I just had this image of like you in a tutu with a fairy wand, like poo-pooing, the whole woo-woo world.
That's pretty much me. That's pretty much me, except for I'm wearing, yes, that's exact. You pretty much nailed it. The reason, though, that this works is because opportunities for things for you and for everyone else, they're usually over the proverbial horizon. And so what I mean by this, there's an example that is from my real life, and this is a long time ago. It's pre-Uber. I moved to Hollywood. I live in San Jose now, but I moved to Hollywood like a decade ago, and I got a toothache the first couple of weeks I was out there.
Oof.
Didn't have dental insurance. Was working, because I'm an entrepreneur. Who the hell buys dental insurance?
Yeah, no. Who has dental insurance?
I know. Like, unless you work for freaking Microsoft, you don't have dental insurance.
Yep.
So I'm calling dentists, and I'm like, hey, I don't have insurance, but I have the toothache. I really need an appointment. They're like, we don't take new patients. We're super far from you. We don't have availability for 2 weeks, that kind of thing. And so in desperation, I post on Facebook, and I'm like, I have a toothache and no one will help me. They're telling me to go to the ER. And I know that in the ER, they're like, we'll
just take it out.
Yank it out. Yeah. I'm like, no, thanks. So I post in desperation on Facebook, and this guy I don't even know, that I'd never met in my life, goes, my aunt is in Hollywood, has a dental practice. Do you want me to call her? And I'm like, yeah, you're a sweetheart. I love you. Who are you? I don't care. Get me a dentist. So he sets that up. His aunt opens up an hour early, doesn't overcharge me, is super nice about the whole thing. And I'm like, thank you. So I email him and I go, hey, that was really nice of you. You saved my bacon. I really appreciate it. He goes, look, I don't know if you need graphics, but I'm a barista right now. I really want to be a graphic designer. I have no idea how to do this.
Wow.
Look, I don't need graphics for anything right now, but I'll keep my ear to the ground for you because I owe you one. And he's like, thanks. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm happy to help. And I like your show or whatever. I don't even know if he was a fan of the show. It might have just been his friend who was.
Yeah.
And he's like, just keep your ear to the ground. You know, if anything pops up. And something like 4 weeks later, a friend of mine, she goes, hey, I keep having designers flake on me. I need a web designer. And I'm like, well, I don't have a web designer, but I have a graphics guy and I've never worked with him, but I have a portfolio and he's super nice and he's super hungry. She goes, whatever, I'll take whatever I can get, send it over. So I send it over. She hires him. He's responsive, nice, a pleasure to work with because I kind of knew that and vouched for him. Yep. He ends up getting a full-time position with her, creating all the graphics for all of her clients' websites. It's like $85,000 a year. And he was freaking making coffee before that and hating every minute of it. And the reason he got that job was because he helped me find a dentist on Facebook. And the reason I got my toothache fixed was because I just reached out and helped, was able to help, he was able to help me and I was able to help him. If he said, I'll find you a dentist if you find me a job, I couldn't have helped him if I wanted to at that point.
Right. And I love how you just took the woo-woo fairy, whatever crap, and you just turned it into reality. It's like, when we actually keep supporting people and putting ourselves out there and also asking for what we need and want, right? I mean, we start connecting to more and more people. And I think there's also something about, being willing to go deeper just than the surface, right? It's like we're all human here. And so we're all struggling with things. And it's not just, like you're saying, it's not just a tit for tat, but it's also not just hey, let me put on my happy face and pretend everything's okay. And, there's something about actually having real human connection with people, I think, that ties people together over time.
Yeah, it really does. And frankly, working with people like this, I want to dispel something here because people are like, oh, well, that's convenient. You got this guy a job. Like, what? So I'm going to help someone and get a job. 99 times out of 100, well, let's say 9 out of 10 times, you're going to help people. They are never going to help you. Not because they're selfish, but because there's no opportunity for them to do anything for you.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who will actually be able to do something for you. People think they know. So like, let's say I get a show fan from the Jordan Harbinger show reaching out and going, hey, I like what you do. Let me know if I can ever help you. I don't know if they can, but if I treat them like crap, like what? You're some coffee guy. I don't need you. I'm looking for influencers and celebrities, right? If I treat that person that way, guaranteed they're never going to help me with something. But I'll tell you, I met not only my wife through my podcast, but I've had so many cool, amazing opportunities for people that are like, hey, I know this is weird, but let me know if you ever want to like pet llamas or something. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be so cool. I'm randomly going to be in Austin next week and I would love to go to this llama farm because my wife would really enjoy it. This is real stuff. And people go, wait, what? And you have no idea. So you have to be comfortable helping people and thinking, I'm never going to probably get any ROI on this other than I feel good about it. And they might pay it forward. But what I found when I left my old company, The Art of Charm, and when I started the Jordan Harbinger show and Advanced Human Dynamics was all of these random things that I did 5 years ago.
5 years ago, 10 years ago even, right?
Yeah. There's people that go, oh, well, you helped me find this job through this thing that you did. And then I sent you a note and you actually replied. So yes, I will tweet out your thing. By the way, I'm a huge tire salesman now and I have 80,000 followers.
Right. Well, and this goes back to what you were saying before about people say, I don't have time to do this. And one of my, very strong beliefs is we actually make time for what we value or for what's most important. If we say we don't have time, then all right, it's not going to happen. But it's like, if this is the root or the foundation of growing your business, how could you not make time for it?
Yeah, I think the ROI on helping somebody do something small or big for them is massive. And so the objection that I get from a lot of people is they go, look, I don't have time for this. Are you crazy? If I'm helping all these people, I'm never going to be able to work on my own business. Here's the problem with that mentality. You're not going to be, if I'm a graphic designer, I'm not just looking for people that I can make graphics for free. That is unscalable. They're right. That objection is then correct.
Yes.
But logistically, if I'm looking to always be giving instead of always be closing business. I don't have to worry about finding the one person in 100 at some mixer or event that needs graphics. I'm just trying to find out who else in my network would be a good connection with the person that I'm talking to then.
Yep.
That way, I'm not making graphics for people. I'm connecting them to other people in my circle, and that is pretty much infinitely scalable. You could make 100 email introductions a week, and you wouldn't run out of time to work on your own business. So you have to go that route. And not only is it scalable, but now if I'm talking to you at an event, I don't have to go, hey, do you need graphics? No. And then I'm looking over your shoulder because you don't need graphics. I'm looking for someone else. I'm just finding out what you need. And you're like, oh, actually, I need someone who can edit my podcast. And I'm like, oh, I know somebody who does that.
Right.
Would you like an introduction? Now that person and you are like, oh, that Jordan guy's not so bad. He helped us meet. That was really nice of him.
Yeah.
That's it. And if neither of you ever are able to help me with anything again, oh, well, I helped both of you. The end, it's all good. But chances are, if you do this all the time for a decade, people are going to go, hey, I thought of you because ... random thing. I met you at a conference 3 years ago. Yeah. Would you like to keynote this event for this defense contractor? You're going, oh my gosh, that opportunity literally shook out. It's a numbers game. You're just rolling the dice thousands of times until you go, wow, I just won the lottery. Twice.
I just love to. I mean, you said something about me being heart-centered. It does warm my heart that it just feels like a more, I don't know, mature and generous way to live life too.
I agree. It's a good way to live. And it's like you can sleep at night. And not only can you sleep at night, but most people are good. And they go, this Jordan guy's helped me like 5 times. I need to help him with something. You know what? I'm going to send him a bag of craft coffee. Fine. Or I'm going to hook this guy up with this paid speaking gig that my friend is running because he's a good person and I owe him 5. So I end up with a lot of really cool opportunities. A friend of mine just said, hey, do you want to come to Fiji, all expenses paid? Because I really like what you do and I'm a fan of your show and you helped me find this other thing. And I'm like, who are you again? And they're like,
wait, what?
It's John. You hooked me up with this other thing. And I went, oh, cool. I'm glad I did that. Yeah, Fiji sounds great. Where do I sign? Right? That happens all the time.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, okay. What else? What else do you have around how people can make this happen, or any kind of, pitfalls that you've seen as people have tried to do this? I mean, it seems like it's, in some ways, it's just a very simple concept. There's no, hidden pieces about this, but I'm also curious if there's anything you feel like you haven't covered.
Oh man, I have a lot of this stuff on, and is this an appropriate time to tell people where to find it, or do you want me to save that to the end?
Go for it.
So I recorded a bunch of videos about all of these kinds of drills, like the layoff lifelines, and I'll go through a couple more, of course, here on the show if there's time. At advancedhumandynamics.com/level1, or you can just click on level 1, advancedhumandynamics.com. I've made a bunch of videos because I've got dozens of these little drills and things like that to systemize this, and I teach people these concepts. One thing that I think would be really useful is every day around 9 or 10 a.m. Pacific, because you don't want to hit people up too early, but you also don't want to wait until they're exhausted. I go in my phone, I hit my text message app on the iPhone or on your Android, whatever, scroll all the way to the bottom. Those are the old ones where you're like, yeah, we had lunch once at Cafe Gratitude in San Diego at this conference, and I never spoke to them again. Send a message to those people, 5 or 10 every week, or 5 a day, or whatever you have time for when you're standing in line for coffee, and say, this kind of has to be done, not scripted, but it has to work. You say, hey, it's been a long time since I met you at FinCon in San Diego.
Right. You have to be clear that you know where you actually met them.
Right. So they're like, oh, right, that guy. And then you say, what's the latest with you? I would love to hear a quick update when and if you get a chance. No rush on the reply, and then sign your name. And these are all important pieces. The reason you sign your name is so you don't get new phone who dis, or they're embarrassed and they won't respond. You tell them where you met so they can try to kind of maybe sort of remember.
Yep.
And then the other thing is no rush on the reply, because if you're coming out of nowhere 2, 3, 4 years later or 6 months later, people go, if you're anything like me, they go, what is it, Herbalife or Scientology, right?
Yes.
Like what's going to happen?
Yes.
But people are selling things, they build urgency. If you're not selling something, or there's no urgency. So what we're doing with the no rush on the reply, if and when you have time, is we're just demolishing any sense of urgency. Right. So what I've done when I've tested this is it ups the response rate from about 40 to 70%,
Wow.
because people go, oh, okay, I know who this is. I know where I met them, maybe kind of. And this
They're
isn't
not
going to end up
pushing for something.
right. This isn't like, can you sell my dog grooming ebook to your email list? It seems less urgent. So there's the agenda, or the idea that there's no agenda seems a little bit more believable. And then if you burn them, they'll never talk to you again. So don't misuse this.
Right.
But
Well, I was going to say you cannot misuse this and
no,
actually, have an agenda or have something that you're rushing.
no, it'll blow up in your face. You'll
Yeah.
just be that guy, and then you'll get blocked, and that's how that goes. But
Yeah.
if you do this with 5 or so random people every day, it just takes minutes. And I know people are like, I don't want to have random conversations with strangers all the time. Trust me, 70% of the people are going to reply. They're going to send you 1 or 2 texts. That's it. You're just re-engaging these dormant ties. You're kind of waking them up. And what's great is you find out what they're up to. They find out what you're up to. And you're ending up doing this like 50 times a week or something. You end up with people who go, oh, you know what? I'm going to be in your neck of the woods in a month doing an event. Do you want to come to the event? Or, hey, a speaker just fell out for my friend's thing. Do you want to keynote this? Again, it's a numbers game. These opportunities pop up and you go, I can't believe I got a trip and a speaking gig to San Diego because I texted this dude I had lunch with once 3 years ago.
Wow.
It happens all
That's
the
amazing.
time.
That's amazing.
And so that sort of texting thing, I also have Gmail Roulette, which is very similar to the text, similar script. But if you don't want to text people or you don't have their phone number, then what I do is I just go into my email, hit the compose button, type in 2 random letters. It'll suggest people, and you go, oh, right, this guy. You just pick a name that you recognize. You go, I typed AD. Oh, right, Adam Kaplan. Right, he won this thing. I got to hit him up. I haven't talked to him forever. That re-engages people. You have to do both of these because you don't just want to stick to the people whose phone numbers you have, because then you risk not getting anybody whose number you don't have, right? So you want to re-engage some email people, some phone number people. And by the time you end up with your order at Starbucks or whatever, you've re-engaged like 5 or 10 people in a way that just keeps you sort of top of mind. And then you'll find some synergistic reason to keep in touch with at least one of those people, generally.
Yeah. I mean, part of what I find amazing about this is, I'm definitely a people person, so it's on my mind to always reach out and connect. But what I love about this is that for people who it isn't their natural way, you have this buffer of text or email or whatever. So it's not like you're making some kind of weird cold call. It's not like, you have to put your face out there, right? You're just simply sending a message.
Exactly. Right. This isn't some sort of marketing. It's really it's as simple as it sounds, and people won't get it at first a lot of the time, which is why I recommend people just try this for like a month. It's really low commitment.
Yep.
And what happens is people try it and they're like, I don't know, this seems like a waste of, oh my gosh, this person wants to have me on their show for my thing. Oh my gosh. Or wait a second, this person has a book and it's perfect for this thing that I'm doing. You will find something and you won't otherwise be able to search it out.
Yeah.
You're going to start finding people that, I mean, literally I texted somebody a couple months ago and they're like, yeah, I ended up moving out of LA. I live in this random place now in NorCal. I was like, oh, where? And they're like, oh, Campbell. And I go, I think we're neighbors. I live in Campbell. And they're like, no kidding. I live in such and such. Like, dude, we got to go get lunch sometime. You're my freaking neighbor now. And they're like, yeah, I'm the events manager at LinkedIn. I'm like, okay, well, I would love to talk about speaking there if it's within the thing. And he's like, yeah, my job is to book speakers for LinkedIn and a neighbor. So this stuff happens. Your luck is really just trying a million times until something shakes out, right? Yeah. It's literally the definition of this is picking the right lottery ticket. The thing is, every time you text, re-engage, email, help, intro, whatever, you're buying a lottery ticket with house money.
Well, yeah, I love it. And actually really thinking back to however we connected years ago, I mean, I think it was because you did reach out to me. And again, I don't even know why, but
I don't even know why. I have to look at it now because I totally don't remember. But
as I was starting my podcast, I was like, oh, who do I want on it? And then you were on my mind.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate that. So that worked somehow. Magic it is, right?
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. This is awesome. Any last thoughts, anything you want to leave men with, or might be some women who are listening, but mostly men are listening?
Yeah, I would say, look, if you're interested in this kind of thing, the Jordan Harbinger show, I'm all about performance, teaching you some stuff. If you like the networking angle, advancedhumandynamics.com, go to level 1 and try the course. But really, honestly, you don't have to do that if you're not that interested in this. I would love if people just checked out the Jordan Harbinger show, because that's where I'm just dropping free stuff forever.
Nice. Well, and thank you. Thank you for teaching in a way the art of generosity, and thank you for being someone in the world who gives and isn't always trying to get. I mean, it's I don't want to say it's rare these days, because I actually think people are starting to be more and more connected and waking up in different ways. But it just always warms my heart to meet someone who that's where your attention is, right? And what you can do and how you can serve and how you can help, as you grow and as you help other people. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Man Alive. I hope it gives you a sense of what's possible and how good your life can be. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe to Man Alive and write a quick review that helps men like you find us. And again, head over to shanajamescoaching.com/manalive to get outtakes, videos, and raw footage I only share there. These are some of the most interesting parts of these expert conversations. You can also grab your copy of The Unknown Power to accelerate your career and solidify your confidence with women, because the two are related, and I know you don't have to settle for one or the other. Join us each week for a new episode of Man Alive.